again later if you want.
Oh, perfect.
All right.
So what got you into coaching?
Um, I don't know. One of my friends actually asked me for help once, and I basically broke down some of the game, and I figured it would help. And I don't know. I like coaching in general. I think it's fun to help other players get better. So
Do you watch any like Last Shadows stuff?
yeah, actually, he coached me like 6 months ago.
Oh,
Six,
you're the Teemo talk.
yeah,
You
that
oh
was me.
good shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen that. Good stuff.
yeah. So I basically kind of adopted his play style after that lesson, and it's been kind of a little bit of an offshoot of that since. So I like the Rage Blade build quite a bit. I'm not a huge fan of the mallet build that IPAV uses, only because it's not my playstyle necessarily. Because the mallet build's good for kind of split pushing and a little bit of team fighting, kind of both. Um, like I don't think the mallet's going to help you split push quite as much as maybe a Rage Blade would.
Okay.
Whereas if you were to team fight, your kind of sustainability in a team fight is much higher, because if you've got a rage blade instead of a mallet, you're super squishy. If you've got the mallet, they can dive you and you can survive it and kite around a lot better. So it just kind of depends on what you're looking to do, really. And I
Well,
think at the lower elos, at least from my perspective, also one of the bigger aspects of the mallet build over AP is the fact that in the higher elos from diamond and above, you've got a lot of players who understand how to pink ward and how to sweep
yeah,
almost perfectly, to the point where AP
that's true.
Teemo is just
Effective.
yeah. But I've learned, and especially in my like plat games now, even then they don't effectively use the sweepers. They don't effectively use the pink ward, so I can still go full AP Teemo and just destroy teams. So I think it just depends where you're at, where you're looking to go, and then I mean, if the nice thing about Teemo in general is just the fact that you can build them so many different ways. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
there's the full AP should be available to you up through Diamond. You can do the mallet build, but I think it's unnecessary.
Well,
And so anyway, yeah, go ahead.
I was bit like sorry. So I saw when I first like my main account actually got permanently banned, and I stopped playing for like 8 months.
Hmm.
And so I made a new account, and I was like, you know what? Like, what should I do that's gonna be fun for like League or whatever? And I just decided to make a Teemo only account.
Oh, nice.
And I kind of sucked at him at first and whatever on my way through 30. And I was like, oh, what's a safe build? So I looked up like Ian Pavlov's build or whatever.
Yep.
But I feel like it just like you don't do enough. Like and
Right.
you do no damage. Like I feel like
Exactly. If you're starting mallet and then runons, where does your damage come from? Right?
that's what I mean.
There's no damage, right? All it is a very, very safe build path. And if you get super ahead, I mean, it's annoying because what happens is, you take maybe Swifty boots with
Yeah.
mallet runons. It's almost impossible to get away from Teemo. So eventually, you'll just run the guy down and kill him.
Well, yeah,
But
but the problem I had is that like you're only gonna get kills inside a laning phase because if they overextend, then you just auto attack them while they run back to the top tower.
exactly.
But after the laning phase, you don't get any more kills and you do no damage.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's just more opportunity with other builds, especially in low elo, where you can take advantage of Teemo's strength, especially when you're expected to get first blood kill almost every game. You know what I mean? Like it's so easy to first blood with Teemo if you take flash ignite in the top lane.
Yeah.
So we'll go through kind of my basic Teemo lesson. We'll just go through like a regular verbal lesson, and then
What? I'm curious that what build are you running right now? Like, what is your
so
consistent build, or do you change it up?
I don't have like an exact build that I build every game. What I do is I kind of and I'll teach. I'm going to show you how to do it this game right now. Actually, let's go through that first, just to get that out of the way. So let me open up Paint. This is kind of LS like. He likes to use Paint, and I do too. It's actually really helpful. So what we're going to do. So we'll go Teemo builds. Let's start with this build. So I'm sorry, I forget. Are you in silver right now? Where are you at?
I got to gold this season, and
Okay.
that was just off like pure determination.
Okay. So were you playing Teemo primarily, or did you?
Nah, just pretty much strictly Teemo. And
Oh, nice.
and
Okay.
another thing is I don't know, like, all right, so My name is Teemo from SSU, and maybe it's stupid or whatever, but like I feel kind of bad if I was to play another champion. So like I queue up for top and mid lane,
Hmm.
so I've been running Teemo mid quite a bit, and
Okay.
and that's
Oof.
not really
No,
optimal.
that's really tough. See,
Yeah,
what I do for my secondary is I pick 80 carry, and then I just play like Caitlyn Lucian. That's pretty much all I do because if you're good at Teemo and you're good at kiting, then you're just naturally going to be good at an 80 carry as well. And not like the weird ones like Jin. I mean, you can play Jin, but I would suggest like start trying to play Caitlyn and Lucian. And your natural kiting ability with Teemo translates directly into an 80 carry. So I think that would be a good natural progression for you instead of having to like force a Teemo,
yeah, oh yeah,
into the mid lane because it's like
because
you
it's
play
literally killing
LeBlanc.
my win ratio.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it's
dude.
stomping it. Like I was doing relatively good. Like I had a 57% like win ratio. I think at the highest. I was really winning games, but I
Okay.
just every time I take a mid lane, like I just like have to. I just get stomped unless they play
Yeah.
like GP mid.
I mean, listen, like all mid laners have just like an insane amount of CC and range with their abilities. It's just really tough to counter. I mean, there's not a lot of mid laners that you're just going to straight up beat. So I would suggest not taking Teemo mid lane. But some people try and do it. You just gotta. What happens with Teemo mid lane is you're kind of forced to play like a super specific style, where you're gonna
Yeah.
like rush, typically like a Wits End, Abyssal Scepter, Merc Treads, and just play safe and farm. So I mean that's kind of if you're gonna do that, you might as well just play like Morgana or Lux or something mid.
Yeah,
Just like.
I was thinking about picking up Morgana.
Hmm. Like Morgana is really really simple. It's just the problem with Morgana is like she becomes like late game. It's more of like a utility mid laner like an Oriana where you're not going to be like playmaking.
No,
It's going
yeah,
to be tougher to like really win a team fight. I mean, you can get in their ult Zonias and then hope your team can clean up, right? And but when you're in lower elo like silver gold, it's like that means you're relying on your teammates, and that I typically don't like to do that. You know what I mean?
Well,
It's like
one problem I was having is when when I solo queue, like I think my solo queue by myself rating is awful. Like for some reason when I go top lane, like I usually queue up with a jungler, which works well with Teemo because you can have them like because know how Teemo pushes early and like you always push early when you're trying to pressure the enemy
mhm,
laner.
mhm.
It's nice to be able to have your jungler be like, all right, like stay around top side of the jungle so you can get the counter gank. I feel like how do you go like what is your mentality going into a solo queue game like early in lane? Because I feel like
So
Teemo just gets camped every like if I'm by myself I get camped every single game.
yeah, so we'll go through that too. So I'm gonna put that dealing with camps.
Like
So
because you coach like I've seen you coach like a different. I watched some of your YouTube videos and I've seen that you coach a bunch of different elos on
yeah,
Teemo.
yeah. So and I wanna give you kind of the info that'll help you kind of through all gold and through platinum as well. And dealing with camps is going to happen at every elo from bronze to challenger, but um, obviously Teemo, just as a quick overview, I mean Teemo's got no escapes, you know that. It's just kind of a speed boost.
Yeah.
So vision for Teemo is way more paramount than anything else. So you just need to make sure you're well warded, number one, and number two, if you're not well warded, you just have to assume that the jungler is in the brush next to you. I mean, you essentially
Okay.
just gotta play like a bitch. And it sucks to say, but all that makes you do is just wait until your next ward is up. Once you get a ward down, then you can kind of start opening up your play. But that took me a while. It's kind of a weird thing to say, but it took me a while to understand that. Um, I just did a lesson with a challenger player named Yasuo. He's the number one NA Yasuo player.
I hate Yasuo.
Yeah,
Yasuo.
and I had him watch me play a game live and just give me some tips. And the one thing that we kind of both noticed as the game was progressing was I was just kind of blind shoving as hard as I could. Like my game is usually a split push Teemo. I build a lot of attack speed and I just raise towers super fast. And I understand kind of when to push, when not to push. But what I was doing but not noticing was like I would be pushing too hard, and when the enemy team would kind of go into the fog of war, I wouldn't kind of check the mini map as often, and I would just get like dumpstered by four of their
Yeah.
players. So that's something that it took me a while to start to like be honest with myself and be like, holy shit, like I am just blindly like, okay, let's run it down top, back, buy some more shit, run it down top, back, buy some more shit, run it
Yeah.
down top. But I wasn't like actively being like, okay, where's the jungler? Where's the mid laner? Where's the top laner? Are they in the fog? If so, take a few steps back into their fog, and then pretend like you've left. Then
Yeah.
then they'll rotate back mid or rotate to bot, and then you can just resume your split push again. It's that simple. So we'll go through that. That's a good question. So that's dealing, but that's from dealing with camps. Oh, son of a bitch. Okay, so dealing with camps will lead us to splitting. So we'll do both. We'll do dealing with camps and splitting both.
Yeah, splitting. I'm unsure like how like I'm not the best at split pushing.
Okay.
Because I usually go like the build I have the most personal success with, and the one that I've been running, is just the AP one. I haven't because I thought that once Ginsu's like the Teemo talk that you did with Last Shadow was a couple months ago. I think it was like 7 months ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah.
So back then that Teemo build was viable. And that was back when I was playing on my main account. But I feel like didn't Ginsu's get changed and get more expensive, and like the passive changed a little bit?
I don't know if the passive changed. I know it got more expensive. So yeah, it's a little bit more on the expensive side. So it's not super optimal from like a gold perspective, but at the same time, I still like it, and I think it's still viable in almost all the elos. So except for kind of a higher elo when you can get punished for it. But I still think you can take the Ginsu build up through platinum. So let's just go through some of his builds real quick, and then we can talk through them once I kind of lay them out for you. So here's AP Teemo.
Oh yeah, the passive that changed was back when the video was made, it was basic attacks deal bonus magic damage on hit equal to 20 plus 15% of bonus attack damage and 5.5% of ability power. The new Ginsu's, it just says every other basic attack will trigger on hit effects an additional time. So how does that work with Teemo?
That's right. Yeah, so it's actually a little bit worse then.
Because that's what I thought. So I stopped building that build after I saw the change because I didn't know if it was still viable or not.
Yeah, it got worse. It got nerfed, but so here's what. Let me build these out for you, and we'll talk about it. Ready? Okay.
Yeah.
So, AP Teemo, I think Hex Tech is definitely going to be your starting item for almost every build, even your attack speed build.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do this. Let's go AP Teemo. We'll go attack speed, and then we'll go. I think we can do Mallet just to put it out there.
Yeah.
So it's Mallet, Runan. I think they do Wits End.
Yeah, I think so.
And then it's situational. So that's situational, and then I think you can go boots equals either Swifties or the armor boots. I think that's pretty much the only two, or Merc treads. It depends on kind of what you need, right? So it's semi-situational as well. All right, so for Hex Tech, for the AP Teemo build, I like to start Hex Tech, especially when your enemy laner starts to build some MR. If you just go the Cutlass side of the Hex Tech, it's actually it's fantastic because it kind of confuses them, where they're like, okay, I'm building MR, but he's building AD, so it's like, okay, what's he doing? So a lot of times they'll switch from MR to armor, so it'll gimp their build a little bit, which is great because then you'll just go right into Hex Tech and then straight AP. So
you're saying to build if they usually if you go with Darius, the first thing he's gonna buy is fucking Mob Malmortius or whatever. He's gonna buy the what is Hex Drinker, I think it's called.
Right. Yeah. So
you're saying to play like a mind game and go to Vamp Scepter or whatever.
Yeah. So if we go to let's go Hex Tech on Blade. So if you start the Bilgewater Cutlass route and you start going the AD side, you're gonna get 25 AD and lifesteal on while they're building MR, which isn't helpful for them. So by the time you get your 1500 and they get their Hex Tech, yeah, they're gonna have their Hex Drinker. Sure, they're gonna have a a little bit of magic resist and that extra shield passive, but at the same time, you're still going to be doing more damage to them because you went the AD route instead of the MR route to start, right? Or instead of
So
the AP route to start. So
is that situational, or do you do that quite a bit?
I do that almost every game. Almost every game I go straight into Bilgewater Cutlass, only because, like I said, they're always going to build MR first. And if they start building armor first, because you're building the Bilgewater first, that's great too, right? Because right after the Bilgewater's done, you're going to go straight AP. So, either way you go, they're kind of screwed going this route.
So it doesn't gimp you when if you like you see that passive right there. I feel like that is a majority of the passive on the other. I don't know what the item is called. That one.
On the revolver.
Yeah, you don't miss you don't feel like you miss the passive on that when you build the cutlass.
It's yeah. Of course you're gonna miss it. You're not gonna have that, but at the same time, I like it better going this route because as soon as you get the Bilgewater, you'll have the gold for the Hextech revolver on your next back. So the window that you don't have the revolver is pretty small anyway. Yeah, right. So it's fine. I mean, again, also if they're building MR and you start a Hextech revolver, the utility you get from it's decreased, right?
All right.
So. I just like the Bilgewater for that reason over the revolver. So anyway, the first item that you're going to complete is the Hextech Gunblade, and once you have that, you'll be able to do a lot more. So Hextech first, then Nashor's Tooth, and then then it becomes kind of situational. You can go so many different directions with AP Teemo. It just completely depends on what's happening with your opponents. But what I'll do is I'll give you Leandries, Void Staff, and then Lichbane, Death Cap, Abyssal, and then Sword Shoes. So you're basically always building Sword Shoes.
Okay.
Always building. So these are your core. I'm going to move this so you know that it's core. Son of a bitch. Let's do it this way. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll say core. Situational. Let's make this smaller. Okay. So your core items are going to be Sork Shoes, Nashor's Tooth, Hextech Gunblade, and then what's going to happen is you're going to need to look at what the other team is building, and you're going to say to yourself, okay, they have, they're building an Abyssal in the mid lane. They're building a Spirit Visage in the top lane. Their Rek'Sai in the jungle is also building some MR. Then you might want to rush this Void Staff third, right? Just so you can negate a lot of that. But if you just see that the mid laner is like a Ziggs or something going straight AP, their top laner is like a Darius, or say their top laner is like a Riven or a Jace or something, and they decide not to go the Hex Drinker route. They said just go, I'm going to go straight AD or a Renekton of some kind. So if they're not building enough MR to really warrant a Void Staff, then I would go Abyssal Scepter, right?
Okay, just so you get more survivability with
right.
the MR.
Exactly. So you get some of the magic resist against their mid laner and potentially their jungle. And it also decreases their resistance to, decreases their MR, right? So that should go really, synergize really well with your Sork Shoes. So between Sork Shoes and Abyssal, you should have enough magic penetration in this build, but if they go hard magic resist, then go with the Void Staff instead. Either way, if you don't see almost any MR being built at all, then you can go straight into your Leandries and then hold off on your more M-Pen until you can kind of see what they're doing in the game. If you're way ahead, I would go Leandries, Lichbane, or Deathcap, and then buy kind of the Abyssal Void Staff last. But the amazing thing about this build is with the attack speed from Nashor's Tooth and the AP and Pen from Swordshoo's Hextech Gunblade, just having these three items is allows you to one shot
Yeah,
their
yeah.
80 carry, which is
It's the
fucking
best thing
awesome.
ever.
I
You have
love
to
it.
use the active. The active is great.
Oh yeah, that active plus Thunderlords, your auto Q auto. Um,
It's
with
literally the best feeling ever when you.
Oh my god! Like, and they don't even see it coming, so they'll be so out of position so often. Like,
Yeah, because
it's fantastic.
and they don't realize that the hex tech gives you the little bit of a slow too, so you can use that to catch them like when you pop your W after you active them.
Right, exactly. So I don't know if you saw on my YouTube. I put up like 3 or 4 games last week. There was one game where I ran this build, and I 100-0 their Ezreal. Right down by their tower. It was like the funniest thing ever because the Ezreal walked forward to try and get one of his Qs off. So I kind of walked forward to let him do it. And he thought, oh, I'm just going to like poke him and then back out, but I just deleted it. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. So I love this build for that reason. But here's the thing. Here's times to not build AP. So
That's one of the things I was gonna say is sometimes like with that build like in team fights I like it's like against certain team comps I just feel useless. Like I can't go like so say they have like a LeBlanc or they have somebody who can dash in and out like.
Mhm.
I get killed so quick like that it's not like I can't even one shot my target. It's like you have to position so well with that build that it's like
Okay. Yeah, so here's okay. Um, I'll give you the anti LeBlanc build too. That's my attack speed build. So times okay. So let's actually make it a third build. Straight. Okay. So this is going to be our attack speed split push build.
and that's the one that you run most often.
Yes. And then this is attack speed against AP. So these are going to be pretty much like the 3 builds I'm gonna tell you. Like, so here's the mallet build. You kind of know this build already. I run this very rarely. It's like super situational. I think I'm gonna just go ahead and delete it so we can have room for these. I think between the 3 that I'm about to show you, attack speed against AP, attack speed split push, and AP Teemo, these are the only 3 that you're gonna need, I think, going forward. And
So
you just pick completely situationally, and you can actually pick these before the game even begins. You just look at their team comp and decide which one you're gonna use.
So you go into champ select and you like kind of like I don't know the mentality just yet, but you
Okay.
like look at their team and then you decide like you actively decide out of these 3 like you run all these 3 regularly.
Yes. Yep.
All right.
So I have a rune page and a mastery page right now. That's pretty static. I don't move those around as much as I should because I know the changes are coming. So I've just kind of said fuck it. I'm gonna wait until the new season comes with all the mastery changes, and then I'm gonna rebuild my mastery and rune pages. And it's coming in like 4 weeks or something. So I figured right now I'll show you what I use. So right now.
Hold on, let me open up my league thing for the masteries. I think I'm not sure if I have the same as you, but I'll check.
Okay. Yeah. So right now, my my rune page is pretty standard Teemo right now. What I'm doing is I'm taking hybrid pen marks for for the mark page. I'm taking scaling health seals, so that if I'm up against an AP or an AD, the scaling health will give me some defense against both. And then I take AP glyphs,
Okay.
all AP glyphs, and then 1 AP quint, and then I take 2 attack speed quints. And this is just like my well-rounded rune page. Okay, the attack speed's great early game. I get most of my AP from the glyphs and the single quint, and then I get some pen from the marks. And the only defensive runes I take are the scaling health seals.
Okay.
So this is just super well-rounded. It lets me do a lot of things, and I can run any 3 of these builds with this page. And then similarly with the mastery page. And again, this is something you can play around with if you like. Like for instance, I take Sorcerer Stash instead of Assassin. But that's, again, it's like situational to whatever you want to do. But I like taking Thunderlords. Obviously, AP, we're like going to be mostly AP based, so I like Thunderlords. And even if we were going to do like the Fervor route of the attack speed build, I actually, even with attack speed, prefer Thunderlords only because of the early game strength of a Thunderlords. Like, you're going to get, you want that first blood, you want that snowball to begin early.
Oh yeah. So so you go feast as opposed to deadliest double edge.
Yeah, I like feast, but it's more of a defensive option. Again, like, it's super like up to you what you want to do. I mean, if you think you just want to go straight ham, you can take the double-edged sword, but in certain matchups, you're not going to be able to go ham. Like, sometimes you'll get counterpicked, especially if you're auto-picking Teemo. You'll go into like a Pantheon lane, a Rise lane, things like that.
First the Pantheon, it was awful.
Yeah, it sucks. And like an Olaf, like sometimes you just can't bully them. So I just take the Feast because just overall, it's just more defensive. That's the same reason I take Secret Stash over Assassin. Like, yeah, if I'm going up against like a Garen or against a Renekton, I could switch out Secret Stash for Assassin and Double-Edged Sword and do like even more damage early. But instead of min-maxing all this stuff, you don't even have to do that at the lower elos. It's just like pick a page, stick with it, and make sure it's well-rounded enough, and then you can do all your damage with your strategy and tactic in game as well as your itemization. Right?
Does the 2%? Do you think the 2% even adds up on the assassin, or should I just run the biscuits?
Yeah, I mean, it does. It does actually help a little bit, but for me, the reason I like Secret Stash better is just because it allows you to make a little bit more of a mistake in lane.
Yeah, it covers your mistakes more.
Yeah,
I'll probably go with that then, because I'm like, just to play on the safer route, because I'm not playing Teemo perfectly.
Yeah, and especially early game, the little bit of extra health actually does help quite a bit. I've actually noticed the difference of running Secret Stash and Assassin on like you're taking too many Scion pokes. You know, you're not dodging as much as you can.
Scion is rough.
Yeah, like if you're not dodging skill shots as well as you should, then just go a little bit more defensive. It's there's nothing wrong with that. So then, because you'll make it all up with the build that you're going. So anyway, so my point is that put some pages together, just generic ones like that, and then just forget about it, because it's not worth your time to try and min max all this stuff until you get to like a diamond and above, where it starts to matter more. So. This is your kind of core AP Teemo build, and then the only time I would not build this is when you're in that loading screen before a game begins and you're looking at all 5 champs on the enemy team, you should start kind of theory crafting. Okay, what's happening here? How much CC do they have, number 1? Number 2, how much AP are they going to be running? How much AD are they going to be running? Is it a well-balanced, mid lane AP, jungle AP, and then top lane AD carry or AD? Is that going to be like a very well-rounded, or do they have an AP mid, AP jungle, AP top lane? Like if they're gonna, and then like a Sona support, that means they're gonna be that's your against AP build, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think if they're well-rounded and they have like a Rek'Sai jungle, a Braum support, they're going Gnar top, that's gonna be that's more than one tank, so that means AP Teemo is going to be not good, right? Because they're going to be building a lot of MR. You're not going to be able to blow up a Rek'Sai. You're not going to be able to blow up a Braum. Mega Gnar is not going to be able to be blown up. So for that reason, AP Teemo probably won't be as successful. So
now I have a question. Mm-hmm. Do you like only play Teemo in the top lane?
Yes. Yep.
So you pick him every game?
Every game. Every
right,
game. I know. I mean, I've played him so much that I know even against Pantheon how to beat him. I know how to play against the Rise and beat him. Every single lane opponent with Teemo is beatable. I'll tell you that right now. Okay, and we can go through all the tough ones that you want. I can show you. It's just that's what I love about Teemo, is that you just have to know how to play the matchup. Okay, so. Let me give you these builds. Let me just build them all out for you, and then we can kind of talk through some of the specifics. So, core on the attack speed build is going to be, again, Hextech, Gunblade. Number 2 is going to be, and this is against an AP opponent. So,
And when you say against AP, like, do you mean an AP top laner or just AP, a lot of the AP on the enemy team in general?
yeah, enemy team in general, not just against an AP top laner. So you got a LeBlanc, you're against the LeBlanc mid. So let's do this against AP team.
And what constitutes as an AP team? Like just having an AP jungler?
AP mid, AP jungle, AP top. So when they have at least 3 damage dealing APs. So if it's not an AP top, I'm gonna say AP top or
like
support.
A Zyra support. Or
right, like a Zyra support or a Sona support, where you know they're going to be doing damage as a support, especially magic damage. Or maybe even a Bard. To some degree if the Bard gets ahead. So like, you just want to make sure. Okay, if there's an AP mid and an AP jungle, that's almost enough to go against AP team. Because if you've got a LeBlanc that's like coming out of lane 6-0, then that's going to be their damage dealer, right? Like, you know that the LeBlanc's just going to go in and delete some fools. So you need to make sure you're going to be good against that. So
okay,
Hextech Gunblade again is a great start because it gives you that you can still be blown up, but you can sustain off of like minions, like a minion wave that's by you. You just continuously auto attack, and you can get that health back. So after you get the Hextech, Wits End, Abyssal, Merc Treads. Okay, and this is fantastic because if you go into this game here, let me show you my YouTube again. You've been to my page, but I'm just going to show you.
I might be mistaken, but you don't commentate your games, do you?
Yeah, I talk through them. Not as much as I probably should, but I've been trying to get better with them. But I do talk about when I die and why I died and things like that. So this game in specifics, Teemo top versus Rise. This is the last game that I posted. This is a game where I built the attack speed against AP, and they had a LeBlanc mid. They had a Rise top, and this is me getting first blooded, and I was like, what the fuck's going on? How did I just die to that? Okay, so let's go into the mid game. You can see there's a LeBlanc mid and there's a Rise top. They got an Alistar, Tristana. I forget who their jungler was, but you can see I actually went Wits End first into Merc Treads, then Abyssal, and then I built my Hextech actually third. So
what's the reasoning behind that?
So the LeBlanc was getting a little bit strong for this team. So and the Rise was as well. I couldn't kill the Rise at all. After he first blooded me, essentially, if you ever get first blood against your enemy laner, then your strategy should completely change. You're no longer going to be able to snowball, and then you have to switch your mentality from I need to snowball and get my offensive items to how do I have to mitigate the losses and make sure that I don't feed, but I can't give up on the game, meaning I can't just build like a Spirit Visage and a ZZ Rot and then be like a completely worthless champ. So you need to be able to kind of balance the fact that you lost the lane with being able to claw back.
That's one of the problems I see with taking Ignite. It's like if you and then it happens to me sometimes. Like I know, I don't know if it happens with you, but when you play Teemo, like you'll versus Yasuo, and you're like, all right, I know how I'm supposed to kill him right here, and like it just happens, like you just fuck up, like you make a mistake mechanically in the level 3 fight, level 2 fight, and then he's just like stops. He just rolls me after that. I just get rolled.
Yeah. So if you're ever worried about
like how like when you say your mentality changes, like what do you mean?
Yeah, so okay, I take Ignite for the sole reason of I'm going to kill him first. I'm gonna get the first blood in this game. Now you're gambling obviously by taking the Ignite. If you take the Ignite, you should be confident in that the fact that you will be able to get that first blood. If you're not confident going into the match, okay, you're against the Pantheon, you're against the Yasuo who could or couldn't be good, then just take Exhaust instead, right? And then if the Yasuo gets on you, you just exhaust him and kill him. Right, so there's another one. Or you can just take TP if you're like, I'm just going to farm all game and I'm just going to split push all game. Then you take TP. You never really take TP to like affect a team fight, right? You're not TPing in behind them and then coming into the fight. Because like in the LS session that we talked about, like he made a great point of, what the fuck are you gonna do as Teemo? You know what I mean? Like you
no CC.
Yeah, you TP in, they just focus you and you die.
They just turn around.
Yeah.
You TP behind the bot lane just walks back.
Yeah, right, exactly. So TP will be good in the situations where you're going to miss no CS in lane, right? You get a kill on the enemy laner, you go back by and then TP back in, you'll miss 0 CS. That's great. Like instead of having to run back and maybe missing 5 or 6 CS, you miss 0 CS. Or you take the first tower, take the second tower, then you TP bot lane and then shove down bot side. So it's all about map control.
Even on your excuse me. Even on your split push build, you don't run TP running knight on split push build?
Yeah, because I have my Swifty boots and I have I think I'm pretty decent at rotations, so I know exactly when to push where. So I don't necessarily need the TP, especially when you're running a move speed, attack speed build. You can run around the map like really, really fast, so it's not quite as necessary. The only thing you got to really worry about is if you're bot side and Baron's up and it's takeable by the enemy team, you just got to be careful when you're splitting bot because you don't have TP. But that's like such a niche situation that it's not really that big of a deal to me. So and I know when not to go bot, right? So that's the only thing you got to worry about is when not to be bot side when the Baron's available to be taken. So this build here, Wits End, Abyssal, Merc Treads. Let's see if I can't find a spot where LeBlanc tries to kill me. It's actually hilarious. I think I face check a brush, and she's literally standing in a brush waiting for me. Let's see if this is it. Hang on. She tries to one shot me with this build, and I end up killing her instead. And I think she's like, "What the fuck just happened?" Hold on. And I talk shit to her. I usually don't talk, but she started talking shit to me, and so I started talking shit back to her. Here it is. I think this is it. All right. And this is when I've got the hex tech. So I've got my 4 items. Hold on. This should be it. Maybe not.
Now, what elo are you at right now?
This is Plat 5. I'm like in between Plat 5 and Plat 4. I keep bouncing back and forth.
Now, are you actively trying to get diamond, or are you?
No. Right now I'm just messing around with new builds and new kind of theories to try and see what's what, because everything's going to change in a couple weeks, so it's going to be really tough to really.
But like next season, are you working? Like, are you going to be like? I know some people hit plat and they kind of just like, all right, I'm done. I'll be fine at plat. But you.
Oh no, yeah, I'm going to try and get diamond 5
Good shit.
by like.
Good shit.
I'm going to try and get diamond 5 by like March, April. Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Sorry, I keep looking for the stupid fucking spot.
And do you have streaming capabilities by any chance?
Yeah, yep. I stream almost every time I play now. I just started doing that like 2 weeks ago.
Well,
so
I was gonna say after the lesson, like I don't know if you'd be down for it, but if like I could just watch the stream and be in Skype with you, and I can see how you play and like it's like kind of if that's all right with you.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, perfect. That way, like I can like there's no delay. There's like a little bit of delay, but I can ask you questions and like watch like.
Well, what we can do is after this lesson, if you want, we can stay in Skype screen share, and you can literally just watch me play a game live.
Yeah, I would do that. I'd like that a lot.
Yeah.
Right, I can't tell right now, but it's kind of laggy right now on the screen. Like the game, it might be the YouTube video that's like buffering, but like.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
All right, so it's laggy for you too, like right now.
Yeah. Yep. It is.
All right.
I don't know why I'm spending so much time on this. I figured I started this shit. I might as well fucking.
You're in too deep.
I'm in too deep. Yeah, I was like, I should have given up like a minute ago, but fuck it, we're here. And I probably isn't even this game. Um, Watch, I'm gonna laugh. It's gonna be like the Fiora game. Uh,
So do you go to school, or you graduated, or?
oh no, yeah, I graduated like fucking 10 years ago.
Oh, I
I'm an
see.
old man.
Well, you said you were in a fraternity. What fraternity were you in?
I was a Pike at Tulane. Yeah, holy shit. This is okay. We're giving up. We're giving up. All right, so let me just see if this was. Oh fuck. Uh, there we go. Was I against the Fiora in this game? Was I against the LB mid? No, it was an RA. Okay. Anyhow. So there was anyway, she popped out and tried to kill me and I fucking murdered her ass. It was hilarious. But the reason that they don't understand that that's not possible is as soon as you get Merc Tread's Abyssal Wits End, and I'm gonna move Hextech to the back of this one because I think it's
So you go Wits End first.
yeah, Wits End first because Wits End Merc Treads are your first two buys because and Merc Treads against the Rise just because his root, yeah. So I like the Wits End Merc Treads because you get tons of MR, but I like the Wits End because you can steal. You get a little bit extra magic reduction, magic resistance reduction with the Wits End, and then the Abyssal on top of that with the MR. So these three items together make it so that no matter how fed their AP players are, you're never going to get blown up. And if you don't get blown up and they blow all of their cooldowns, you just stand still and just keep hitting them and they'll die.
So you don't feel like gimped early, like you feel like the Wits End is enough damage early. I feel like if I was to build a Wits End against a Rise, I feel like I would just still do nothing against.
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. Like when you build the Wits End Abyssal Merc Treads route, you're basically never gonna kill him. So what your focus should be is, and that's what I'm talking about with this mentality, is like
it's like you don't die, but he doesn't die either. You guys both just like farm.
Exactly. Yeah, you're like he's gonna get strong, and so are you. So you just need to make sure that you use your strength better than he does. Because the thing is, when they pick a Rise and do a Teemo, you've pretty much already lost that. Unless you're better, you're an actually better player than that person. You're pretty much if you're equal in skill to the Rise player as a Teemo, you're never gonna win that matchup. It's just that's just how that is. So you just need to accept that fact. And same with Pantheon. Like unless you're better than that Pantheon, you just got to accept the fact that you're never going to win that lane unless you get help from the jungle, and you can't like count on that, right? So instead, just go this route. You'll still be strong, but you'll never be able to die against the Rise 1v1, and you'll be able to still kill the shit out of people.
Okay.
Who aren't Rise or who aren't, like their AP mid laner is going to be building straight AP, so you'll be able to blow them up. Their AD carry will be building no resistances, so you'll still be able to blow them up. And you just got to play around and kite the Rise, kite the whoever else is like Lissandra, whoever else is top lane, right? So I love this build. This is fantastic. It's super defensive, but also offensive. So after the Hextech Gunblade, you can continue with the attack speed route and go Nashors. And this allows you to split push really well. And then finally for your last, I'd say is situational. And again, it just depends on, okay, ask yourself who's strong and what does your team need. So if, for instance, your team has taken every single tower, you probably don't need to keep building attack speed, right? You don't need to be a split pushing guy because there's nothing left to split push. You can just go straight into damage, right? If your team is way behind and you're the only strong player on your team, you may need to stay alive in fights, and so you might need to buy a GA, right? You might need to buy something more defensive, like their Tristana is like 11-0. You need to build something that's armor based, so maybe a Zhonya's would be good, or just something like a Randuin's, right? Something just straight defensive.
I feel like when I try to, I feel like I have the idea of split pushing wrong. Like I feel like So when I split push, like, so say I take like bottom 2 towers, right, and then they
Mm-hmm.
have the tower in front of the inhib left.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you keep going down bot lane and trying to get that inhibitor, or like do you just like once you get the first 2 towers, like you said, like there's nothing to split push anymore? Is that like, well, when do you call that there's nothing to split push anymore? Like when
Okay.
do you make?
Yeah, let's get into that. I'll let me finish the builds out, and then we'll talk just split push. So let's go. Um, let's just finish out the core. This is my favorite right here, the attack speed split push build. This is what I like. This is my ideal build every single game if I'm allowed to do this, but a lot of times I'm not. So Hextech on Blade is number 1. Number 2, Gensu Rage Blade. Number 3 will be your Nashor's Tooth or Wit's End. And then number 4 is your Runons. You're going to go Swifty Boots every time. Every single time. Because the move speed is fantastic on Teemo. And then your 6th item will be situational. And again, it's either a GA if you're a very priority guy on your team and you need a little bit of resistance, but you also need to stay alive. GA is good. ZZ Rot's also good. It increases your movement speed.
Yeah.
That passive is super underrated in my opinion, and it allows you to split push even better. It can let you split push 2 lanes without even being in one of them. That's a really good one. And then you can go like Zonia's if you really need to, although I don't really like it since you're not going AP, but it does have the active effect, which is nice. But
What about like a Borg? Do you ever build?
defensive, yeah, you can go Bork too if you really want some extra, like some hybrid damage there too. If they've got like mega super tanks, but I found you can with Ginsu, Hextech, and then Wits End, just those 3 items. I'm gonna give you a caveat here, not a caveat, but a note. Hextech, Ginsu, Wits End. I did this in the game with the Challenger Yasuo player. I soloed the Elder Dragon with just these 3 items, and he was like stunned. He was stunned. I soloed that, and you lose 10% of your health. I finished the Elder Dragon in about 25 seconds by myself, and I lost 10% of my health because the attack speed that you get from Ginsu's Wits End with the lifesteal on the Hextech, as well as throwing shrooms and using your Q, is you just absolutely decimate the Elder Dragon by yourself. It's actually the most hidden, amazing OP thing about Teemo, is doing these like epic monsters just by yourself. The only thing you cannot solo is Baron. Baron is unfortunately something you have to use your team for. Anyway, so these are the 3 basic kind of build paths, and it's just super dependent on what your team needs game to game. Okay. All right, so now that we have that out of the way, let's talk about split push. And I'm recording all of this, so you don't have to write this down. You could always just watch it again later. Okay, what's happening here? There we go. Summoner's Rift. All right, so let's talk about split push.
Oh, this is cool. Jeez.
All right, so let's talk how you want to typically. Oh shit. Okay, let's go a little thicker here. Okay, so the way I like to think about it is we're playing Teemo top lane, right? And say we get the advantage we want, and we're building our Hextech on Blade into Ginsu build, and we take tower first. Okay, we get first blood tower. Okay, what is the next move? All right, always once you take your first tower down, you always want to take stock of what's happening around the rest of the map. Okay, so if your bot lane's getting dumpstered, right, Is your mid lane even? Is their jungler ahead? Um, why you're taking stock of the rest of the map is because you're trying to take the pulse of the game. Okay, you want to say, okay, where is the pressure? Where are the pressure points on the map? And this is how you want to start thinking about the game as it's happening after laning phase is over. Okay, think about the map as 5 pressure points. Okay, so there's obviously the 3 lanes, right? Then Dragon and Baron. So those are the 5 main objective points of the game. Okay, very basic stuff. That's League of Legends. Now you need to start asking yourself constantly in game, where are the pressure points and where are we getting pressured and where are we pressuring? Okay, and I can't stress that enough. That is the most important thing to stay aware of, like the entire every second of the game, right? So mid lane's going even, bot's getting dumpstered, right? So the pressure is coming this way, okay, and the pressure is going that way, okay, and then this pressure is even, okay. So if that's the case, you have some options, okay. So the next question you have to ask yourself is, what can I do? Okay, now are you so strong that you can just run up bot side with your AD carry and support and just kill everything and then take the tower? That's going to be a super rare situation, right? That's going to be when you're like 3 levels ahead of everybody, you've got 4 kills, you've killed the jungler twice, you've killed the top laner twice, and this game is basically over. It doesn't matter what you do. You can go up mid and do the same thing, right? So those we don't even have to talk about, right? Yeah, so we don't even have to talk about that. What we have to talk about is, okay, you're getting dumpstered, but you're not strong enough to just take over the whole game. So what you have to do is create an opportunity for your team to come back into the game. You have to create an opportunity for your bot lane to come back, right? So that means tell your jungle to start camping mid bot and never come top ever again, right? So tell your jungler to play right here. That's it, okay? So you're going to control this half of the map, and your mid, bot, and jungler are going to control this half of the map, okay? And so the way you're going to do that is you're just never going to leave the top lane. Okay, because if you've taken this tower down and you've got a lead against your top laner, say you're up against like a Redectin or a Gnar or a Garen or whatever, basically you're in a situation where they cannot 1v1 you, right? Because you've gotten potentially, let's call it first blood gold, you've gotten first blood tower gold, you're already, let's say, 50 CS ahead, right? You've got such a lead on the top lane, and that's something that's not impossible to do every single game, right? So you need to understand, okay, how strong am I? Can I just run it down top? So that means if you are strong enough to 1v1 your top laner, you need to just continuously pressure this tier 2 tower, right? What that's going to create is their mid laner is going to need to come help sometimes, and their jungler is going to need to help, right? If their jungler and their mid laner do not come to help their top laner, sooner or later, right, they're going to lose that tower. And they're going to recognize that, right? Even in silver, even in gold, they're going to recognize, okay, Teemo is becoming a problem. We need to deal with the Teemo. What does that do? When
it alleviates pressure.
Exactly. This pressure starts to build here, right? If their jungler is dealing with you, that means it's a 3-on-2 always in bot, right? So just by you being the annoying split pusher, you're constantly allowing your team to come back into the game. How you throw your lead is when you're pushing too hard, and this is what I was talking about before, where I would just mindlessly push, and then I would just get dove, and then I would get killed. And when you die, that makes their rotation worth it, and that makes your pressure alleviation worth less. Right, so your job is to create pressure, right? But as soon as you see the mid laner go into the fog, or as soon as you can't account for their jungler, that means you just step backwards, right? You step backwards into the fog.
How do you know where the jungler is? Like, how do you, like, what is your technique to knowing where the jungler is?
Very, very simple. You just look at the mini map, right? Okay, I saw the jungler, and you know your bot lane's going to have wards. Your bot lane's going to have a ward here. Your bot lane's going to have a ward here, sometimes here. Your mid laner's going to have a ward here or here. The jungler is not going to be out of vision for more than, say 20-30 seconds at a time, because he's going to come in for ganks. Say the jungler was ganking mid about 20-30 seconds ago. That means, okay, he's somewhere in this part of the map, So you just have to be wary. Okay, he's somewhere near me. He could be close. Say you just saw the jungler. Sorry, let's keep color coordinated. Say you just saw their jungler gank bot, and you're over here. You can you can almost dive them if you want, right? Because you don't have to worry about anything. You can see their mid laner mid. You just saw their jungler bot. You can account for their whole team. That's when you have to make sure you're always taking advantage of those windows that they give you, okay? So that's why it's really important, and it seems cliche, but always, always, always watch your minimap, right? And it's not just because, you go to like summoner school on Reddit and you can see people making those like retarded posts about watch your minimap, right? It's like, okay, it's smart to watch your minimap, but what you need to do is be aware of why you're watching your minimap, right? You're watching your minimap.
You have to know what to watch for.
Right, and what you're watching for is just enemy movements, right? Where is the pressure and where is it going to be going to next? And this is something that you start to understand over time. And it's not that complicated, to be honest, right? I mean, there's not too much, this is solo queue. They're not coordinating anything. It's just reactionary based for the most part, right? So they're not looking 30 seconds or a minute ahead into the future, but you should be, right? Because if you see, and you've got wards here probably, you're never going to be standing here pressuring this tower without wards yourself either, right? So let's talk about how you're going to protect yourself on the split push, especially against the second tower, right? So how you're going to protect yourself is once you have this down, I assume you're going to be level 9, and as soon as you're level 9, you buy the blue ward. Your blue ward should be permanently here, okay? If there's not a blue ward here, you're never standing here, okay? So this blue ward creates vision of this spot here. How are they going to gank you without you seeing it? Right? They have to go this way, right? Or they have to go this way, okay? If they go through lane, super easy to see, right? You see them coming through lane, you just run away.
W away.
Yeah, and you've got Swifties and W, there's no way they're catching you. Now, if they go this way, then it's a little bit more tricky, but how why would they ever do that? I've literally never seen it happen, especially when they don't know there's a ward there, right? And at the same time, it's not even a big deal because you'll have either a pink ward here, or you'll have a mushroom, right? So what you're going to want is you're going to have, at minimum, a mushroom here, but you would love to have a pink here. Okay, a pink here would be the best case scenario because that covers your ass forever. And then a mushroom in this brush, right? And then what I'm going to do is
I like to put on right where your cursor is right there, and then the entrance to lane as well.
Exactly, yeah. So these are your essentials is what I call them, okay? So entrance to lane, and then right here as well, okay? So these 4 shrooms, along with this blue ward, and you are completely invulnerable, right? So 4 shrooms and 1 blue ward, and nobody can ever gank you, right? You don't even need to know where the jungler is because he can't get to you without you seeing him first, right? So this is what your strategy becomes, okay? You pressure this top lane, right? And if you see the jungler bot and you've got your vision in order, then you can freely pressure this tower until it drops, okay? Now, if you don't see the jungler bot and you don't know where the jungler is, you can still pressure the tower, and what you're hoping for is the jungler to come at you, right? And as soon as you see the jungler here, you don't just run away right away. You want to waste as much time as humanly possible. You need to pretend like you don't see him. So as he hits the shroom, you can run away. So then the jungler does one of these things. Hits the shroom thinking he's going to kill you, gets really fucking pissed off, starts to walk back and forth, hits this other shroom, starts to get even more pissed off, walks back and forth, and then just walks away. Okay? I've seen that happen 2 trillion times, and they get tilted off the face of the planet. Then what you do is you walk back here, shroom, and then you go back to doing what you were doing. And it's almost like there's nothing they can do about it. There's literally nothing they can do about it. And what you've just done was not only show where the jungler is at, but you've alleviated pressure on the map, and the jungler has wasted time. He hasn't taken any farm. He hasn't gotten any gank kills. And you've just put your jungler further ahead, and you've actually enabled your mid to roam or your jungler to gank or do whatever they want, right? So it's also important to keep in mind when that happens is you need to start becoming the captain of your team. Don't be afraid to start pinging shit. Like, okay, top and jungle are trying to kill me. They can't. It's impossible. and I'm just wasting their time. So what you need to do is start pinging mid lane, right? Start pinging bot lane. Start pinging something. Start pinging dragon. Say, okay, something, because there's two people up here, something else is available, right? Your jungler shouldn't just be like dicking around here. And if he is, it's no big deal. Just be like, start setting up for something, right? Start pinging something. Look around the map and see where the pressure can be applied. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's always a dynamic situation. And that's why when people get to like Plat Plus, it's really hard to give people advice on how to get better and climb more, because those like very general strategies and platitudes stop mattering because everyone knows them, right? Now it just becomes game sense and how you play the map better than your opponent. So then you need to start thinking about, okay, I'm creating this situation top lane that's really hard for their team to deal with, and how are we going to win off of that pressure? So if your team is too dumb, and they will be too dumb to realize what they need to be doing, that's where you come in and your pings start to matter. Be like, I have pressure top, start to pressure other shit because they can't do anything about it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions about it so far?
I'm kind of just trying to absorb it all.
Yeah, no, and it's a lot. So what's going to happen is if
I was just thinking, like, it kind of hit me like, wow, like I haven't really thought of League in the sense of like overall, like I've never played the game and like in my head been like, all right, like I have to like start putting pressure on certain, I have, but not to this level of like.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is it
I never thought about it as like playing the map. The way you said playing the map better than your opponent. I hadn't really thought of it like that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like people even in high plat and below, they want to take their mechanical skill as far as it will take them, but they don't think on these terms, right? And that's what I love about top lane is it forces you to become this overall map player, right? Like bot lane players suck at map rotations and understanding this at plat and below because they just
stay bot lane.
Yeah, they just stay bot. They focus on the micro game. They might be like super beast at last hitting and like making sure they don't get ganked or whatever. But when it comes to when to do Baron, when to do Dragon, all that stuff, they have no idea, right? The jungler is supposed to know that, and the top lane is supposed to know that, right? So it's your job to start taking control of these games. I don't want you to ever come back to me and be like, yo, man, like, I keep winning top lane, but I keep losing the game. Like, if you win top lane, you should just, if you're in this situation that you're in and you're not winning the game, that means you're doing something wrong, right? This is on you. You've won the game at this point. 11 minutes in, you've taken the tower, you should be saying to yourself, fuck yeah, I just won the game, right? Because you're going to be creating so many problems for them that no matter how behind your team is, you're going to be able to bring them back, right? Because as soon as you see them, they send their jungler top with their top laner and they don't get the kill on you, all you have to do is ping mid, right? And then just have the jungler go mid. 2v1
I think the problem I find myself in is I feel like I'm pretty good at getting to that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not the best at like doing it myself. I usually like duo queue with the jungler, but a lot of times I'll get in that situation. But I feel like the problem with me is that I don't like watch out where their mid laner is,
mm-hmm.
or like I don't set up the shrooms correctly, and then I just get fucked up when I get three people top.
Yeah, no, and
so like I just need to start working on putting the shrooms down, getting the wards going.
Exactly. And so this is what I'll tell you, right? So number one shroom, this is the most important one. Okay, this shroom is just as important, and it's really important only if they don't have a jungler like Rek'Sai or Lee Sin that can just hop walls through minions, but most junglers, this will be the number one shroom. But just
even Lee Sins and Golds are just gonna walk that path.
Oh,
anyway.
sure.
They're not gonna fucking.
Mm-hmm. But I say that because I want you to start thinking about that in those terms, because as you climb, it's going to start to matter more.
Yeah.
So if you just think, oh, the Lee Sin's just dumb and gold, I'm just going to put a shroom here and forget about it, it still leaves you vulnerable. So I don't want you to think in those terms, just because eventually it will start to matter. So start thinking about that now of like, who is the jungler and how do they get to me?
Yeah, right? How do they maneuver?
So does this shroom completely negate the jungler? A lot of times, yeah, but if they do have the Lee Sin Rek'Sai, then just be careful and just know that, okay, this room's important, but also this room and also this room, because if they hop, then we're good. But sorry, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, but it is so say like if you're in that situation, you're doing good. A problem that I've been having is like what if like so you're like there's a nocturne. It just completely it throws my game off completely because a nocturne he shuts down that type of gameplay because if you overextend that he just ults. You know what I mean? Like there's not
Sure.
like
Sure. So again, that's the same thing as, okay, you just need to know where the Nocturne is on the map, right? Nocturne can't ult from down here.
no
Right?
yeah
He can only ult from up here. So if you have an inkling of, okay, Nocturne could be on your side of the jungle, then yeah, you can't be standing here, but you can be standing like here, right? Like you can be standing back. You just don't want to be standing on a point where he can ult you and then the top laner can go in on you at the same time. So if you're standing back here and their top laner's here but it's not cannot reach you, then you're fine because if the Nocturne ults on you, then it's a 1v1 situation while you're kiting backwards, right? And you can 1v1 the Nocturne, right? A Nocturne jungle will not be stronger than you to 1v1, right? And if he is stronger than you 1v1, you need to recognize that and not be standing here, right? If you can 1v1 the Nocturne, just make sure you're not in a situation where you can be ever 2v1, right, with his ult. And then also, it's important to time his ult, right? Because there's a window where he's on cooldown and he can't ult you. So he can still be standing here, but if you've got his ult time, it's not going to be up for 30 seconds, and you can still be standing here, right?
Okay.
So again, like that's another tactic I want you to start kind of thinking about is timing.
When you're split pushing, so like if you don't know where the nocturne is, you kind of just like hang around towards the back of the red arrow and then just kind of like wait until you see him. Like so
Exactly.
you're not actively hitting the tower there. You're just
Yes.
you're just shoving the minions, but you're not like
Exactly.
actively
You want this minion wave to never move from this point, right? You just want to keep it here. And yeah, you're not going to be getting like hundreds of damage onto the tower, but what you're doing is just waiting for your window. It's all about the windows, right?
I see. All right. Like all right, I've never really played it like that. Like usually, I'm just sitting there like at that line itself, the red and yellow line, poking the tower myself, and then I'll get killed.
Exactly.
So you're saying it's better to just like let your minions chip away at it till you see where the jungler is or what the mid laner is doing, and then that's when you go in and poke.
Oh yeah, because there's no counterplay to that. There's nothing they can do. The top laner is worthless on their team. He can't stop you, right? The only thing that can stop you is someone else. So as soon as you can account for those someone else's being somewhere else,
that's when you can get the tower.
Yeah, then you can just start dicking around with the top laner, and you can literally be standing here hitting the tower while the top lane's like, "Someone help me!" You know what I mean? Like, that's the name of this game. When you're this far ahead, it's just, press your advantage when you can, but don't by any means do not give it up. And giving it up is by throwing and letting yourself die, right? So, and this is, like I said before, this is what took me a while to understand, was that I was doing like you were doing, is hitting the tower, and I was chunking it down. Like I'd get the tower from full health to like 1/4 health.
Yeah, quarter. Yeah, and then I would
die. Yeah, and then it would be like, okay, then they all rotate. Their top laner pushes all the way to my tower, and then I have to take time. Yeah, then it takes me like 3 waves to get back to their tower, and then it's become like what 2-3 minutes later, and our other lanes have lost even more. And I'm like, well, why does my team suck so bad? Like all that stuff, right? So it actually started with you, and it started with you dying, right? So it's actually worth the 10 to 15 seconds for you standing here and accounting for everybody, and then shoving because you've only lost 10 to 15 seconds of pressure, and then you've gained even more, right? Because instead of losing 2 to 3 minutes, you're just losing 15 seconds and still keeping the pressure.
And I feel like by standing back a few, like maybe like I was gonna say feet, but by standing back a couple inches or whatever, like by standing there, I feel like the jungler and the enemy mid laner, like sometimes we'll see that and be like, oh, the tower's not being actively threatened, like
exactly, dude. That's called that's using the fog of war to your advantage. So here's what I want to do is I'm gonna show you. Let's get these out of here. Okay. So here's what I want to show you next, right? So say, in that little pocket of time where you're pressuring, so here's where the minion wave is, and you're pressuring tower, but you can't account for the jungler, and you're standing over here, and you're still you're like, okay, their top laner is trying to deal with the minion wave, and I'm trying to figure out where the jungler is, and you've got your shroom here, you've got your shroom here, and you've got your shroom here, and you've got your shroom here, right? And you've got your blue ward here, right? So you're in an optimal position. Don't just stand here, right? So you have the option of just standing here and potentially like in the fog of war back here, right? But why not just loop this way, right? Where he can't see you, and then put another shroom here, put another shroom here, put another shroom here, right? Or a blue ward here, put another shroom here, put another shroom here, right? Like what you're trying to do is in those lull points where you're just literally mindlessly watching the minimap, watching for the jungler, you can still be clicking around and placing shrooms.
And doing things, yeah.
Yeah, so you're to the point where like in the most optimal situation, you're gonna have so many mushrooms all over their jungle that like no matter what happens, like you're so protected. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the map control that you need to start using as Teemo. Like Teemo's strength is map control, and that's using this shroom field of being like they are so fucking fucked. And especially when you're playing AP Teemo and you have the situation, even when they have sweepers up, they can only sweep like this much or this much, right? They're gonna be like, okay, we've swept all of Teemo's shrooms, and then like their support Zyro will walk through one shroom and have to back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like so devastating. So this is the crux of the split push. And this idea, I know we've talked a lot about just the tier 2 of top lane on the blue side, but the crux of this idea works in every lane, and it works from both sides of the map. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to reopen, oh boy, that's the save button. My potato is going to take 10 seconds now to bring up the save screen.
Is this what you play on?
What?
This computer?
Oh yeah, yep. Oh no, maybe I just missed it. Okay, so I'm gonna reopen Summoner's Rift. I have like, I built this computer myself, and I built it like 7 years ago, and it's got 16 gigs of RAM. It's like a fucking monster, but since it's so old, I think I need to upgrade some components. But
I gotcha.
let's just open Summoner's Rift. Okay. What the? Oh, you know what I did? Son of a bitch! I think I saved it on accident.
Yeah, you saved the paint.
I didn't do save as. So here's what we're gonna do. This is gonna be annoying because you're gonna have to sit through this for a second.
No stress, bro.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to network. Come on.
Now, how many games on average would you say you play a day?
Unfortunately, since I work full time, I don't have a whole lot of time, and my girlfriend moved in like 4 months ago, so like I don't play like nearly as much as I would like. So I play probably average like 3 games a day, and then when she's out of town, I play like 15 games a day. But
Let's go.
but yeah, like it's basically just whenever I can. So the problem is like climbing through Diamond. The push that I'm gonna make next year will be a lot better because I'll probably have more time. I'll have a better schedule and be able to stream and stuff better. But
you have time for some games today, though.
yeah, no, I'll play one right after we're done talking today. Fuck it. So what we'll do is I will just make this easier. Let's just Google that image again. Summoner's Rift. Images. Let's take this one. Ooh, there's some new ones. Let's see what this one looks like.
Oh, here's an example. They had the Rise top, the LB, and then they had an Evelyn jungle.
Which one?
I'm on your op.gg right now. That's an example when you built the
Okay, good, yeah.
attack speed against AP.
That was the Poppy top, right?
No, it was Rise top.
Oh, Rise top. Oh, that's right.
LB mid, Evelyn jungle.
Okay, so it was that game. Okay.
I think that might have been the game you were looking for the clip from.
Okay, so let's see if that worked. Summoner's Rift. Yeah, this is... Oh, lame. Super low def. Fuck it. Anyway, well, we'll have to deal with this for just a second. So, you know what? I don't even want to fucking... let's go to this one. Here we go. All right, let's save this one. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. There we go. All right, so again, so let's say, let's reset our example, and we'll say, all right, tier 1's down on both teams, okay? All right, so we've got all the outer towers down on the whole team, right? Mm-hmm. And this game is like super even. Your team's throwing, their team's throwing, but you're still the smart map controlling Teemo player that you are, okay? Now, you have basically a choice, okay? Like you in this situation, a lot of players will think, okay, should I go mid, should I go bot, or should I go top? You know, like I'm confused as to what to do in the game. You should always be defaulting your mindset back to where's the pressure, okay? So say that Dragon had been taken like 10 seconds ago by the enemy team, right? Enemy just took Dragon down. So right now, a lot of the pressure will be probably towards the Baron side, right? People are going to be like, okay, we just start setting up for Baron, keeping wards. Now, you just being top lane, or bot lane, while the Baron's up, there is opportunity for them to just go straight to Baron and take it. But what you need to do is also take stock of where the pressure is, right? Because if Dragon was just taken, but your whole team is 4 in the mid lane, and they're pressuring the mid-tier tower, there's no reason for you to be with them, right? And like say top is pushing, like the minion wave, it's like a slow push in the top lane. Now, if there's a slow push in the bot lane towards you and a slow push in the top lane towards them, and then your team is all grouped mid, this is a pretty simple case of where you go, right? Where would you go in this situation?
So the slow push, we're slow pushing top.
Yep.
They're slow pushing bottom,
Yep.
and then is Baron up?
And Baron's up, Dragon's gone, but there's 4 in the mid lane, and they all just backed because they all took Dragon.
Then I would just shove bot.
Exactly, right? Because this is slow pushing, and if they ignore if they send someone to deal with the slow push top, right? If they send one, then you can 4v4 mid, right? And they're just going to be wasting time. And you can, if you're doing the attack speed build, you push faster than they push. Mm-hmm. So you could probably take this tower before they take this tower, right? Now, if they don't send someone top and they go 5-man, against 4.
You just hope your team backs up.
No, well, but you also have to ping. You ping Teemo's headed this way, and then you ping the back pings, right? The be careful pings.
Yeah.
So you just keep pinging that over and over, and just say stall. Just type in chat stall, and then just back ping. And what you're going to do is you're going to hard shove to this tower. So now they have a choice. They have to hard engage your team and win that fight, or they have to split off and deal with you.
Yeah.
So if they hard engage your team and you lose 2 and they lose 1 and they win the team fight, that's great because you just get a tower for that, right? What you're hoping for is that they split off, right? And they can't just send a top laner, right? Because if they send just one, you'll kill him, right? So what does that mean? They have to send 2, right? So what does that create? A 4v3. So as soon as you see 2 people coming for you, and you're never going to be standing here, right, without a mushroom here, mushroom here, a blue ward here. So you'll be able to see who's coming for you. You see more than one player coming for you, you should obviously be running away. But at the same time you're running away, you're pinging the shit out of this tower, and you're saying 4v3, you're doing your job, right? You're doing your job. But you're not just doing your job if you're just drawing the 2 and then running away and then letting them just go back, right? And then you like rotating somewhere else. Like if you see them coming for you, you run away and they're like, okay, Teemo's gone, they're going back, then you just go right back. Yeah. So what you're doing is forcing them to come all the way over to you. Now if they come all the way over to you and you run away and your team just like goes and farms and shit, then that's like a wasted opportunity, right? So as you're running away or as you're doing what you're doing, you need to be telling your team what to do, right? Because you're the only one who really understands what you're creating here, right? Because so many, like, what support and ADC players who don't play top lane ever understand how to split push, right? The split push works because you're splitting up their team, right? You're making their team, you're forcing their team to make a decision, right? And if you're forcing 5 solo queue players in gold and silver to make the right decision, then you're going to win every game you play. You know what I mean? Like, if they send 5 to you, then you've hit the jackpot, right? Because your 4 players are going to take that tower way faster than you would by yourself, and they lose the game, right? So they're never going to do that. But they realize if they send their top laner just by himself, then you also win the game because you're going to kill him and take the tower. Then they have to send their whole team for you, and then your team. You know what I mean? So like that's the snowball effect. That's why split pushing is such an effective strategy, is because there's so few situations where it can fuck up if you as a split pusher are doing it right, which is just don't die. Just don't die ever, and split push will always work.
Yeah, that's how I just need to work on the keeping the vision and not because if they kill you, if they send 2 and they kill you, then it's not worth it, right?
Right. So let's see, Teemo from SSU. I'm gonna pull up your OPGG.
Oh god, my OPGG is ugly right now, I think.
Okay.
I tend to go on streaks. I win 5, lose 5, win 5. My win ratio is not. Oh yeah, I lost 6 in a row, which was rough. Holy shit.
Yeah, that'll happen. No big deal.
But then if you scroll down a little bit more, I won 6 in a row too. So it's it happens.
Okay.
This is gonna sound really weird, but sometimes when my mentality changes, I don't, for some reason, I just don't try as hard. That's weird. I know it's ranked, but sometimes I feel like I don't put in as much effort as I should be.
And I mean, that's something that obviously you can work on yourself, right? That's something that in your own mind, in your own brain, that you can work on internally. And I think if you're playing League of Legends the right way, and this is true of all lanes, all roles, all champs, if you're not, after each game, a little bit mentally tired, then you weren't doing enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like it's just this, it's a strain if you want to play it. It's hard to be able to play it every game. All right, what should I be doing? Am I doing this right? What's their T? That's what your brain should be doing constantly. It's hard.
Right, and I mean, think about it. If
it's like chess.
Exactly like chess, right? And if everybody could do it and could do it well, there wouldn't be the top 3% of players in Diamond, right? And there wouldn't be the top 10% of players in Platinum, right? It wouldn't be the distribution that we have, right? Where most players are Bronze and Silver, right? Because all the Bronze and Silver players are not thinking on that level. And if they did, they wouldn't be Bronze or Silver, right? So once you can train your brain, and that's why, to get good at this game, some people it takes less, energy in their brain to think on that level, and some people it takes a lot more. But if you want to get to that level, you have to think in those terms. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so number one thing that I wanted to point out with your OPGG was this stat right here. Just this one single number.
The deaths. The
7.1 deaths per game over 108 games played. That is so high. I don't understand how you could even get it that high.
Oh god.
This should absolutely never happen. Ever. Here's my OPGG meat face under, and this is my Smurf account that I've just messed around with. And I think I have 250 games played. I think mine's just over 5, and I'm disgusted with it because I die too much. It's 5 even. So I've got 276 games played with a 5 death count, and your Ks and your As don't matter as much as your deaths, right? Because you're split pushing, right? Your deaths mean way more than your kills and your assists, right? And at the same time, your CS count, mine's 233.8 average CS per game, and yours is 182.4. So I've got almost 50 more CS than you per game, right? And it's not like my games go very long often, right? So it's on average, our games will probably last around the same amount of time. So what you need to focus on less is the kills. You've got a higher K and A than I do, but your focus should be less on the KDA and
Mm-hmm.
more on the CS, because you can, if you've got 50 CS ahead, you're essentially 3 kills ahead. So why put yourself through trying to get the kills when you can just get the CS just as easily, or actually more easily? So number one is your CS. Get that thing up really high, or sorry, number one should be your deaths. Get that thing as low as possible, and that goes directly to what I was talking about with your mindset. Your mindset should always be safety first. Okay, as Teemo, you have no escapes. There's no way out, which is why your shroom situation should be on point, and your map awareness should be on point. If those two are on point, you'll fucking never die again in a game. Okay, so make sure your goal number one is to not die anymore. Okay, and when you do die, you need to ask yourself, should I have died there, or was that a good death? All right, and start getting into that habit. Okay, and if you say, oh, well, I just fucked up, well, then that's something you could just work on, right? Number two is miss no CS, meaning, okay, say like we're going back to that example where you're standing here, this tower's down, and you're pressuring this tower. Are the golems up? Can you just eat those golems real quick? Is red buff up? Can you take that? Can you take the chickens? Like, how safe would it be to take any of those camps? How about scuttle? Like, the whole team's coming for you. You got to fully exit lane. Well, what can you do? Rotate, get scuttle, go get gromp, go get blue buff, and then just rotate back, right? Because in the 20, 30 seconds it takes you to do all that, you're not just standing around or doing nothing. You're actually getting utility for that time. So start thinking in those terms of always be doing something, okay? And play the pressure game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I feel like safety. I feel like that's what I have to get the mentality of. Like, it's not like, I feel like sometimes I'm like, in my, like, you ever like when you're playing, you ever tell yourself like, oh, I'm probably gonna get ganked here, and then you stay anyways, and you just like don't listen to your own advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like I have to start just being like, okay, like, dude, it's not worth it. Back up.
Right. I mean, it's just gonna take you playing games and then forcing yourself to be aware. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's Teemo's motto: safety first, right?
Like I was able to. I feel like the only reason I got gold was just like mechanically because Teemo's such a lane bully. But I feel like if I can get the rotations and like getting like get better at the split pushing aspect, because I've never been a good split pusher. Even when I play Teemo now, like I team fight more than I split push. Like,
okay.
So like once I like get the split pushing down, then I'll should be able to climb a little easier.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And you know, gold is, I would say, almost equivalent to silver in terms of game knowledge. So like the mechanics get stepped up a tiny bit, but in terms of what the players understand about map control, it's about the same level. So if you should be able to absolutely dominate your way through gold once you start actively trying to think in those terms. Like, yeah, sure, if you get demoted down to like silver 2 or silver 3 while you're trying to implement these concepts, don't worry about it, right? Because you know you can get back there, and you know how to do it. So just allow yourself to lose is what I'm saying. Don't worry about your elo, especially now that we're going into preseason.
Yeah.
Like, use this time to start trying out this new shit. You know what I mean? Trying out new builds, trying out new strategies, working on your mini-map awareness, and split pushing, okay? Because there's no better way to take control of a game by yourself than effectively split pushing, all right? So I would say